coming to you from the Terry Cole Podcast Studio.
Welcome to OSSB Inside and Out, a podcast about staff member and alumni experiences at the Ohio State School for the Blind. Each episode, we interview someone from the Ohio State School for the Blind about their experiences. And now here's your host, Brendon Hamblin.
Man, it feels good to be back after what's unfortunately been close to a year since we've put out any new content whatsoever. Life's just been hectic and crazy and all that fun stuff. But we are back with Boniface Womber from OSSB in this first episode back for almost a year, because the last one we put out was the Christmas special for 2020. So, what all have you been up to since leaving or graduating? I forget which one you did from OSSB.
Graduating. Well, so I graduated in 2015.
Okay.
Yay. So it makes me sound old now. I just turned.
I was the year after, so I get it.
Yeah, I just turned 25 back in June, so it really makes me feel so old. But since during that time, I attended Columbus State for 2.5 years until spring. Graduated with an associate's degree in 2018, and then I transferred over to the Ohio State University. And I attended there from fall of 2018 until December 2020. So yeah, go me. I was one of those people that graduated during a pandemic year.
Pandemic threw a wrench into a lot of things.
Yeah, it was not fun. It was a very interesting experience. I mean, I've taken a lot of online classes during my time at between OSU and Columbus State, so it's not like online classes were new to me. It's just I didn't have that many in-person classes, and I'm a person that really enjoys in-person learning. But,
more hands-on and physically being there.
Yes, I like talking with people physically in person. I
get it.
Yeah, but I thrive in online settings as well, because it also gives you the chance to kind of work at your own pace as well. So
right.
Graduated with a bachelor's in journalism and a minor in political science, and for the last several months, basically just out here looking for work. That's what I've been up to lately.
Aha. And I bet that's been tricky, maybe. Depending on...
Oh, yes. For sure.
Job hunting's always fun.
Oh, no. It's a blast. It's a blast.
Laying on the sarcasm, they're pretty thick, I see.
Yeah.
So, let's take a walk down memory lane for OSSB and... start wherever, because I know the dotting the I for the OSU game that we were at with the OSU marching band was an experience that hardly anybody has gotten to do. But that was let's start.
I can't.
Let's start with that.
I can't even begin to tell you how I felt doing that. That was quite an experience. Honestly, it was something I never have forgotten, because it's like I got to do it. Me and Billy Brandon did that,
right?
And it was a blast. Just getting the chance to do that next to the Ohio State marching band is just something cool, and at a live game, no less. Like,
right?
At a live game, no less. So, like, and for me. Honestly, it really put a smile on my face just to see like 100,000 people just screaming at the top of their lungs for it. I mean, I've seen the video clips of the OSU marching band doing it, but nothing honestly prepares you
for being
to
there.
Be a part of it as it's actually happening and people just yelling and going crazy as you start to move to go stand in place to dot the I. It was just something that just caught me off guard. I'm a person that just that was just something special, and it just really brought a smile to my face personally, and I'm glad that a lot of people enjoyed it too. And I heard it from family members, friends that saw it, and they were like, man, that was pretty one of the most coolest things I've ever seen. And just to hear that from them was just, it really brought a smile to my face.
That was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, not only for you and Billy, but for the rest of the band, because we've been the only high school marching band to ever march on the same field as OSU in the history.
Oh yeah, no, and it's just, just thinking about it, like when I started, because I started marching band, I was in the band from 7th grade until about 7th through my junior year.
Right.
Through my junior year. So and from my 7th through my junior year of my 7th grade through my junior year of high school, I just learning how, like, going through all these different summer sessions at OSU,
right,
during band camp was just something that you'd also never forget. So just to even perform with them in the same breath of air. I mean, I've also gotten the chance to go to and perform at the Rose Parade when they were there as well, my 7th grade year. So, but just doing this at Ohio Stadium, and growing up a Buckeye fan like I have,
right,
that also really hit home on some next level stuff, because for me, being the passionate Ohio State fan as I am, and getting a chance to partake in an Ohio State football tradition like that, it was just, it moves the heart.
A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, because I'll probably never get another chance to do that again.
Oh yeah, most definitely. That's something that you tell your grandkids about.
Exactly. That's something you pass on as one of those stories that doesn't end in the family
most
or
definitely.
With friends or whoever. You did a lot of sports for OSSB, if I remember right. Right?
I did. It varied. So I did sports my 6th grade year. I did wrestling my 6th grade year. 7th grade, I also went out for wrestling. I tried out for wrestling in 7th grade, goalball in 7th grade, track, did in 7th grade. Did that. I did track for about 3 years, 7th, 8th, and my senior year. Okay. Took a break from sports from 9th through my 11th grade year. Then and I kind of just mostly focused on other things besides sports for a while. Even though I am a big sports person, as you will recall.
Yes, I remember.
That was just me all the time. Always getting into arguments with people about it. But I think, and I also got to do forensics my senior year, and I was the swim manager my junior and senior year. So I got involved in a lot of things at OSU, at Ohio, at
OSSB.
OSSB, yeah, at OSSB. I also at one point I also was in student council for a time. So
I think I remember that. I think we
did that for a couple of years as well. So.
I think we may have been in student council together, if I remember right.
Yeah, I remember doing it my 9th, 10th. My 9th and 10th grade, 9th, 10th, and 11th, somewhere around there. 2 or 3 years.
I think I did it my entire high school career, I think, if I remember right, but I could be wrong. But
yeah, I tried to get involved in as many things as I possibly could have.
Right. And then you weren't residential.
No.
I didn't think you were. No. You live in Columbus. lived in
Yeah,
Columbus at the time.
yeah, I.
Which I'm
it was
assuming
only
you still
like
do.
Yeah, I do. It was only like a 30-minute commute. I live on like I live by Easton. So it was only like
So it wasn't too bad of a drive or ride.
Yeah, 25-30 minute
It's not too bad.
at most. Yeah.
Let's see. Are there any events other than the events that we've talked about, whether it be field trips or music events or what have you from OSSB that stick out?
I mean, there's actually a lot of moments that stick out for me. I mean, where do I begin? I mean, I could sit here and tell you a story from anything that's gone on. There was the Seattle band trip the year after the Rose Parade, my 8th grade year.
Right.
That was a blast.
That was my first. That was my first year in band.
I remember that. Yeah, that was a lot. That was you and a couple other people's first year, if I remember correctly.
Right.
That was my 2nd year, and I was, I'm a person that just kind of, being from Columbus, growing up in Columbus, I kind of somewhere along the line fell in love with the West Coast and was like, you know what, I kind of want to move here because of that. But
right. Now,
I mean,
were you on the plane that got drenched with rain, or were you on the other route going out to Seattle, or do you remember?
Yeah, so honestly, funny story about that. If I remember correctly, I was on that plane coming back. But I was with that group coming back, but on my way there, I was with the other group. And honestly, still to this day, I don't remember why I was with the other group. I flew with the residential kids there, but on the way back, I flew with the day students back, because I remember I was sharing a room with Ben and Donald, and I had beaten them to our hotel room. And
you guys did that a lot.
I had beaten them to the hotel room. Yeah, like I had beaten them to the hotel room, claimed my bed, and sat there and literally waited for these guys to get here. And as soon as they walked through the door, they're like, man, we're mad that you wasn't with us. I was like, that's not my fault. I didn't set this up. I thought I was gonna be on the plane with all the non-residential kids.
Right.
And I missed Vegas for that.
Yeah, I think I remember that. And then
I was like, man, I missed Vegas. You guys went to Vegas.
Right.
I didn't get a good. I was like, did you at least stop and enjoy the sights? Like, no.
They probably didn't leave the airport.
Nope.
Probably couldn't leave the airport, which would make sense.
Oh no.
Were you? I forget if you were in, because I remember one band trip where me, Ben, Donald, and maybe Thomas, Alfred, but I could be remembering the people who were in the room with me that year. But I remember one trip where we were off campus and stayed in a hotel. I forget what trip it was or where it even was. It may have been one of the DC trips, but Martin or somebody had left something in the room, and let's just say push-ups we had to do, like, I forget how many push-ups for Martin.
I think I do remember what you're talking about. I do remember something like that, because that did happen a lot. That did happen a few times where you would have to do those for somebody leaving something behind. So I want to say yes. I do vaguely recall that.
I can't remember where we were, or I just remember it was band related.
Like I mean, I can remember a lot of times where I've had to do push-ups for leaving something behind where it wasn't my fault, or whether it was my fault or not my fault.
Right.
Whether it was sports related, or
band
related.
or
Yeah.
music, but yeah.
Yep.
And then we did numerous pumpkin show parades.
I tell you, man, I was here for the fudge. I'll tell you what, my favorite was the Sweet Corn Festival. I remember those days. Me and Jeremiah were the ones that always would try and get into these sweet corn competitions and see who could eat the most. And I remember one day I found out that Jeremiah had beaten my personal record. And I was like, that's never happening again. Right? I can't let that happen again. So the next year, I came back and tried to outdo him. And needless to say, well, that didn't work out so great the next day.
I can imagine.
Huge stomach bug after that.
I bet.
I regret nothing, though. Let me just make that perfectly clear. I regret nothing.
As long as you regret nothing, that's all that matters.
I'm sorry, all I heard was sweet corn. I like corn. I like sweet things. Put both together. Yeah, I'm trying to eat.
Right?
Look, I may be a slim man, but I'm really a fat kid inside, so
I believe it. And then let's back up and go to the Rose Parade for a little bit, because that was a year before my time. Mm-hmm. So let's back up and reminisce on that for a little bit.
Yeah, that was my first introduction into band. I was 12 back then. I was still playing the baritone. So, yeah.
Right.
Flashback to that, yeah. Honestly, it was my first time being in going to California. And it's not like it was my first time traveling out of state. I've traveled at that point in time. I've had traveled out of state several different times. But it's just like, wow, I have never been that far out of state before. And just going to Pasadena, I was just like, wow, just the culture, the areas that we visited. I remember we had a band session. I can't remember exactly where it was, but I saw all these different roses and flowers. And I think it was a practice where we practiced at a high school field, and just looking at how things were just set up.
Right.
It was just insane. And that's not even including the day of. The day of, I believe we got up around like 4:30, 5 in the morning.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, 4:30, 5 in the morning, drove out to the venue, had a little warm up, and by the time the parade even started, by that point, I had been up for several hours, because I'm a person that really thrives on very little sleep to begin with. By the time we hit like 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, I was like, I'm ready to get this over. My feet are killing me. My arm is killing me from holding this baritone. But I'm like, yeah, I got this. And by the time we start going, like, it's like nothing else even mattered. Like,
right.
Nothing. It was just walking past all these different crowds of people, and just, it felt like it's just me and my instrument, and just nothing else. Nothing else really mattered but me and that in that moment, and everybody else. And it was just us in like this little bubble. I don't know if you've ever felt that during like a parade or something, where it's just like everything else just kind of just fades away. But that's just kind of how I felt.
I know that feeling. I had that feeling in Seattle, if I remember right. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So like, honestly, and then afterwards we hit this restaurant where they did this very medieval style performance, and it was really beautiful. And I man, I believe there was a lot of happy crying parents after that parade. My parents obviously couldn't come.
Right.
Yeah, there was a lot of happy crying parents.
I bet.
Just
It was a
it
once
was,
in a
it
life.
was just a simple sight to see after that. Just it was like wow.
That just happened, right? That was
Yeah,
a once
but
in a lifetime opportunity yet again.
got to also go to Disneyland. So that was my first introduction to Disneyland, and I believe we also stopped at Universal Studios in California as well.
Okay.
So
Sounds
we
about right.
went to Santa Monica. Yeah, so there's a bunch of places we got to visit every now and again.
Right.
I will say this though. I will say one more thing though. I will say this. I think one of the funniest moments of me personally going there was when we were out and about just seeing sights. I walked past a group. I walked past a person having their quinceañera. I remember this just for the simple fact of the red carpet sitting outside, and I was like, wow. So that was awesome to see.
I bet. And then, let's see, we had several, well, I can only recall 2 or 3 dances during the school day, but you were there when Markham did the dougie.
Oh, man. Man, do not. First off, let me just say, may he continue to rest in perfect peace. That was my guy. Markham was my guy. Love that man to death.
Markham was one of my favorites too.
Yeah, like there's so many stories between me and him that I could share, but I'd be here forever. Like, I think he saved my life a lot of times. But like. Yes, I remember Markham doing that. I was just sitting here like on the bleachers before we all started dancing. I couldn't contain myself. I started laughing. I forget who I was sitting with, but then when we all started dancing and when this man just started doing it, I was dying. I literally fell over dying laughing. That's how funny it was.
That was
just watching it.
That was definitely one of the best memories that I have. One of the greatest.
It's definitely a favorite. I will say that. It's for me also. It's definitely a favorite, or at least in my top 3. Because man, you don't forget things like that.
No.
I've seen principals, like going back to my public school days. I've seen principals. I remember having a principal back in elementary school. I want to say my 3rd or 4th, 5th grade year, where we had this book reading contest. And they said, and we had this goal. If we read a certain number of books and met this goal, she would eat a real life fried worm.
Alrighty.
And we wanted to see this. So,
because how could you not?
Obviously, we made this go, and we had a whole big assembly and sat there and watched it.
Definitely sounds interesting.
Yeah, so, Markham doing the dougie is not the craziest thing I've ever seen a school principal do, but it's definitely one of the funniest.
It was pretty funny. I think I've still got a video of it around here somewhere. Maybe. I'll have to dig through my archives and see if I've got it. But I don't know if I still do or not. Man,
that's gold, man. That is some Markham gold.
And then we got him to do some more stuff too. That I know before you got there, we got him to do the can dance. And he dressed up in a big old Campbell's soup costume with
that was the year before I got there. Oh wow,
that was like
I wish I was there to see that.
That was 2004 or 2005, so it was a little bit before your time.
Yeah, so that was that's like 3-4 years worth.
Yeah,
before I got there.
Right, and then let's see what else. There was the track and field days we did, the arts festivals.
Yeah.
All good memories.
Oh no, like honestly, just going to OSSB. I remember wanting to go. I remember I would always come to OSSB for like the summer camps back in public school,
Right.
and again, coming from a very public school, it was kind of for me like just going honestly until I started going to Avalon. Until I transferred over to Avalon the second half of my third grade year.
Okay.
Yeah, the second half of my third grade year. I did not even know we had a blind school.
Aha.
Yeah, I didn't even know. So I didn't even know we had a blind school. I didn't even know those kind of really existed until like the middle of my third grade year, and it was just kind of So when I first showed up for the first one, it was kind of really like a culture shock.
I can
It
see
was
that.
really kind of a culture shock.
I can understand that. Yeah.
It was very much like, oh wow, I didn't even know this existed. I didn't know we had this.
It was a change of pace as to what I'm sure you were used to at the time.
Oh yeah, most definitely, and also like part of the reason why I wanted to go there. I always say this to people is because I got to a point where a lot of my close friends, like a Donald, like an Ebony, started going there and leaving for one reason or another, and they went there, and I was like, oh, well, a lot of my best friends are leaving me. They're either moving to different states, they're going to different public schools far away, or moving to different school districts and whatnot. So you know what? I feel kind of lonely. Let me go. I want to go here. So,
right.
I went from attending all the summer camps to attending the school full time until until my ninth grade year. It was during the ending of my eighth grade year where I really approached them about going back to public school half days, because
which is the Whetstone program that I'm not sure is still in effect, but it may be for all I know. But
I was like, when I left, it was. I don't know what it's like there now.
It was when I left too. So things might have changed between then and now. So
but
especially with COVID.
I do know. But for me, going back to public school, it wasn't really. I kind of just missed the public school aspect of certain things, so I wanted to go back and split my time there. And I was like, and I had to and we had this whole big sit down conversation about it. And honestly, personally, it did great. I did great for it, because for me, I always joke and say, you can take the kid out the public school, but you can't take the public school out the kid. But to be honest, I enjoy it definitely made my high school year, my last 4 years of school at OSSB, a lot interesting, to say the least, because the majority of my classes, were at Whetstone, but you wouldn't really see me until about closer to lunch.
Right.
And I was there for the entire afternoon of OSSB. But I enjoyed just, I enjoyed going back and forth like that, because for me personally, it helped me. In a lot of ways, it really did help me, shape me into the person that I am today. And honestly, I wouldn't be where I am without both schools. So
right, I get it.
I hold both in my heart very special, honestly.
I definitely get it. OSSB has a very special place in my heart. And if you could, would you do it all over again and go back to OSSB?
Honestly, yeah. No, I would do it all over. Look, honestly, here's what I'll say. I would do it over again for a lot of reasons. There are a lot of reasons why I would do it over again. And for me personally, even though even when I had my bad days, and believe me, I had a lot of bad days at times, especially during high school. Like I had, but you know, a lot of that was.
So did Miss Brown.
A lot of that. A lot of that was teenage, a lot of teenage drama. Like I always looked at it as, high school at OSSB's kind of reminds me of a small town. So
yeah,
when drama started, it was crazy.
It spread fast.
A lot of stuff just went down. But despite all the bad moments I've had there, I've had a lot of good moments too. And for me, I definitely would do it all over again because I really regret nothing. So,
me too.
I I made friends. I've had some interesting adventures. My senior trip, we went to Chicago, one of my personal favorite cities to go visit that I've visited multiple times.
Chicago.
It was good to just.
Chicago is fun.
Let me tell you something. It was good because one of the things I got to do is try to compete with Mr. Kelly in an eating contest. And you know what? I thought I could eat. I thought by that point in time I had caught up to Mr. Kelly in eating, but man, tell you, trying to compete with this man in a deep dish to see who could really just eat the most deep dish pizza. Let me tell you, that was my first time ever eating deep dish pizza. I was like, wait a minute, the fact that I have to eat pizza with a fork is just...
It's like, just mind-boggling.
What is this?
Right?
I was like, man, I've been to Chicago, but I've never had deep dish pizza.
Or at least not Chicago deep dish pizza.
Oh, yeah, no, most definitely. I've never had deep dish pizza, period, until I went to Chicago. I was like, wow, I have to eat this with a fork?
This isn't right.
I was like, man, this is supposed to be held in a hand. I'm like, but you know what, man, this is that rich people pizza, man. I was like, but things like that, like going, like the senior trip. I remember my junior year, my class having to plan the prom. Honestly, I'm glad. I remember the theme because it was the theme I came up with, and everybody tried to come up with some version of that theme. So we just went with this theme, which was that beach barbecue luau theme.
Uh-huh.
And the whole going to the Hilton Hotel, that was also kind of like my class's idea. Like, just, that was our idea. Hey, instead of doing prom in the gym or somewhere, let's do it somewhere fancy. Let's do it at a hotel.
Right. And we did that for the next couple years.
I remember my senior year, we went back, and I remember this from the simple fact that, like, now I won't get into all these reasons of why I didn't want to go originally, but I remember everybody from Miss Finley to Donald to friends. Like, it got to the point where it got back to my dad that I wasn't going to prom. And my dad asked me, was like, so I heard from school that you're not going to prom, like your senior year. And I was like, he thought it was like, oh, is it because you feel like you have to pay? I was like, no, it's not that. I was like, that's not it. He's like, because they said it's free for senior. I was like, no, I know that. That's not why I wasn't going. He's like, well, I think you should go. I felt like everybody had a gun to my head. They're like, man, you gotta go. You had so much fun the year before, and you were just all over the place the year before. You gotta do it again. And I'm like, all right. I caved. And, I had a blast my senior year of prom. It was just, I didn't do the limo like my junior year. I didn't feel like putting all that money back into that again. Let me tell you, it was fun. That was a one-time thing. Yeah, I wasn't going to do that again, but I was like, man.
We did a limo my junior year. I think that was Ben, Donald, maybe Ebony, and
no, I remember
others.
That was my senior year. That was Donald, I remember Donald and me were on the bus. I remember because Donald was on the bus with me. It was Ben,
Me.
Ray Don,
That's it. Right on.
you, yeah, Ray Don and Ben's girlfriend. And you guys came in the limo. Me and Donald were on the bus because I didn't feel like putting in $200 for the limo this time around.
Right. But that was fun.
You know, I didn't feel like putting in the $200.
Yeah,
and,
I get
so
it.
I honestly,
I think it was about
honestly,
200
I remember
too.
my junior year. I ended up taking Ben to prom. I remember that one. That one was also kind of an interesting way of how that happened. So, yeah, I remember taking Ben to prom my junior year. So,
Interesting. But nothing wrong with it,
yeah,
though.
No, nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying how it happened was just insane.
Interesting.
And it was just like, yeah, it was a wild ride.
I bet. And then, let's see. We had all the snow days where well, you may not have been there for most of those, but where half the student body wouldn't show up because they couldn't get in. But those of us who stayed
Oh yeah, God.
on
I
campus
remember
were...
when I started going there. When I started going there, and I knew that you guys were still open during snow days, I would always still somehow show up. But then, as I got older, I was like, you know what? Because, you know, I know that's when a lot of the fun happened during snow days. So I wanted to show up for all the fun stuff when Columbus Public was closed.
Right.
So, but as I got older, I was like, you know what, man? I'm missing valuable sleep time. Let me just stay home, take naps. You know, so when I started reaching like 7th, 8th grade, I'm like, man, I'm taking nap. I was like, I remember in 6th grade, I would show up during snow days just for the fun. But after 6th grade, it was, nah, man, let me sleep in, relax, and then live my best life at 13 and 14.
Right. And then we had the transition from what I call it as of the old good building to the new building that's held together with toothpicks and glue.
Toothpicks and glue.
Well,
I mean, personally, I like the tile designs for the floor for the new building. I loved how it was laid out. I loved how it looked.
There are some things
on
that
the
are
inside, at least,
okay with the new building, but most of my memories are from the old building, so... And
that's fair. I'll give you that. I was like, the new building came in my 9th grade year, so...
Yeah, that means it came in my 10th grade year, so, yeah.
Yeah, my ninth grade, my ninth or 10th, by my 9th, 10th grade, or no, I by at least the start of my 10th grade year, that we were in the new building. And
right,
because I remember my last, honestly, it was just an interesting. I enjoyed having blue lockers because blue is one of my favorite colors. And I was like, you know what? I like these lockers better.
And they were bigger, or are bigger.
Oh yeah,
than the old ones.
That mean it was easier for me to shove my big old suitcases in there instead of just sitting it out on the ledge all the time.
Right. It was easier for us to climb in. Why would we ever climb in the lockers? I don't know. But
I mean, some people were just weird like that. Let's just be honest.
I did it once, but that's just to see if I don't remember why.
I'm sorry, I was
did
too
it
tall.
once.
And look, I may be a skinny, slim man, but I was still too tall to fit in there.
Yeah,
so
I get it.
It didn't do me any good.
You are pretty tall.
I could not fit all of my body in there because no, I especially with the top shelf in the locker. Yeah, my head bumped that every time.
And the hooks that are connected to the top shelf of the locker. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I was not trying to get my eyeball poked. Good.
Yeah, and then we had all the band camps running around campus with Ben. For some reason, I remember Ben being there. Remember you being there.
Yep. Oh, trust me. Anywhere there was running around involved, I was probably there.
Right.
I was wherever the most action was, I was probably in the middle of that.
Right.
Doing something outrageous.
And then the band weekends staying in the cottages with Mr. Kelly.
Yeah. Good times, man. Good times.
Not so much the wake up call, but
oh yeah. Look, man, somebody walking in there, just coming in there at the top of their lungs, time to get up.
Or playing the trumpet to get us up.
Oh man, yeah, nah, man. I'm sorry. I'm a deep sleeper, and I became one of those people as I got older. I became one of those people that's like, I'm not very typical. I will talk to people in the morning, but just let me wake up first. And like, if I'm also a deep sleeper, so if I hear some loud stuff in my sleep, I will literally just start freaking out. Like, what the?
What's going on?
And it's like, just what the? Because I remember one time Martin did that. The first time Martin ever did that, walking through the hallways playing the trumpet. And I was just like, what the? I sat up, rolled, and hit the ground. I remember this because I rolled, hit the ground. I hit the ground and was like, what is that? I was like, who the... I remember dropping a few F-bombs here and there. I was like, what the... And what? I was just so caught off guard. I was like, man, what the... And by the time he got to my door, I was already up. And he opened it. He's like, oh, okay, so we got people up. I was like, I'm just sitting here like, just thinking, man, why?
You're just sitting there thinking, I hate your guts.
Exactly. Like, dude, why?
Right? But it was either him playing the trumpet waking us up, or it was Mr. Kelly.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, I would have preferred neither. But, I was like, let's be real. There was no lesser of the two evils there. It was, you never won because both of them played very loud, very good. And they would walk, and Mr. Kelly's loud. I mean, Mr. Kelly's louder than Martin. So Mr. Kelly, his voice in general, like, I'd rather take Mr. Kelly's voice
over Martin's playing. Yeah. But that was
like,
back that was back before we had the new school and when we were in the old C3 cottage.
Oh yeah, I remember those.
Those were back when we had the old cottages. Yeah, so we had great band weekends and multiple band weekends up until they couldn't afford to do them anymore.
Oh yeah, I remember. Honestly, those weekends also gave me a chance to get out the house more.
Right.
Not having to deal with. Let me tell you something. Being the only boy in the family out of 4 kids, and the rest of them are all girls younger than you, and you're constantly surrounded by the 24/7, 365.
Gets you away.
Oh yeah, no, like it gets me away. I don't have to deal with everybody all the time. Like, I've lived in a house with people filled with about 7 people living in one house.
Right.
So you got 4 kids, you got a grandmother, you got 2 parents, and it's like, okay, guys, I need more space from you guys.
I need a break. And
I see you people a lot. Like, yeah, it's like,
I see you people too much. Mm-hmm. And then the band weekends gave you a break from all that.
Oh yeah, and it also got me to go to a deaf school football game. Like, it was those deaf. I got to attend football games. We got to go to Otterbein. I remember the Otterbein trips. I remember the deaf school games. And we got to go to a bunch of different cool things. I believe there was one band weekend where we went to Michigan.
Yes.
That Sunday.
Yes.
Like the Sunday after the deaf school game, because we had a deaf school game Saturday, then that Michigan trip that Sunday.
Yes, because we went up to that state that smells like hot dog water.
Yes. Yes. The state of Michigan, which, let me tell you something, that's an interesting state.
Yep.
We don't talk about that state, but you know,
Nope.
I've been there. That was probably my second time being there, because before then I had been to Detroit, but I went to Detroit with my mom.
Okay.
And you know, I forget what I went there for, but I took part in something that was happening there, and I want to say it was like National Federation of the Blind related.
Right.
So that was kind of fun. So that was my first introduction. So, you know, the band weekend.
I know we went to Michigan for some parade. I couldn't tell you what parade it was, but
Same. Then that's the sad part, because I can't remember what it was, but I do remember it was something.
right. So,
And these band weekends, you know, also I remember a group of us, and when I say Tim, when he was still here,
right.
me and Tim would always be one of the ones always chipping in with Ray Don and a couple other people. I want to say Ryan, and we'd always be chipping in for like pizza and whatnot.
Right, and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
That Miss Agler and Mr. Kelly and Martin and whoever else at the times would let us get away with.
Yep. And we would just literally just sit there, because I remember like the majority of those band weekends, that's what I like, the Saturdays when we got to, like, the Saturdays after all our events,
right?
Like, that's when we really just like, all right, guys, who's trying to get pizza? All right.
Right.
That was literally somebody's first response is, hey, who's trying to get pizza? Who got money for pizza?
Right.
Who's trying to chip in?
Exactly.
And we would just, next thing you know, you see like 2-3 different pizza boxes, cinnamon sticks, and whatnot, just sitting there. And a whole 2-liter, and people just going through it like no tomorrow.
And poof, it showed up.
Good times.
Yes,
good times.
Very good times. Due to technical difficulties, we are going to wrap this episode up. Thank you to Boniface for coming on the podcast. And you can follow us on Facebook by searching for OSSB Inside and Out Podcast. You can find us also on Instagram and Twitter by searching for OSSB Inside and Out Podcast. And you can find us on the free iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time, bye for now.
Thanks for joining us this week on OSSB Inside and Out. Make sure to follow us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter by searching for OSSB Inside and Out Podcast to make sure you don't miss any future episodes. Find us on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcast. Thank you for listening.